Welcome to DIY Meets WTF. I'm Carla Oakley, and we are on our Where's the Facts tour with the primary candidates for West Virginia politics. Today I have Josh Hamby in studio. He is our first After Dark candidate that's come in, so that's going to be pretty fun. He is running for West Virginia Senate District 6. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. This is my first podcast, and welcome to DIY WTF After Dark.
I love his personality. So, you got the Dark Knight here.
Absolutely.
And you got the Mothman shirt on.
I'm all about some cryptids. Batman and, Batman's not a cryptid, but Batman's one of my favorite characters of all time.
Wow.
And definitely, I love the Mothman.
Have you been up to the Mothman statue?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I even went to the Mothman Festival.
Oh,
and,
really?
That was fantastic. It had a really large turnout, and I got to go up there. The first time I went in the off season, and I got to walk right up to the statue, got my picture, went through the Mothman Museum and everything like that. And that was a really good time. And when I went up for the Mothman Festival, I would say there was probably 30,000 people in Point Pleasant that day. And all of the vendors, I was only able to make it down one end of the street and back up. And it was a great time. I love going up to Point Pleasant. It's one of my favorite places.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you a funny story about Ronnie with the Mothman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm ready.
We had just moved here, and we had our property in White Oak at the time that it was, the creek runs through it. And we had just watched documentaries on Mothman because we had just moved here. We were trying to figure out West Virginia and some of the legends of it. We had 2 huskies at that time. They've since passed away, but one of them, the big one, the bigger one, he was taken outside to the bathroom. All of a sudden, she comes flying back up the steps, and he is after her, and he's about to fall in the door. And he was like, the Mothman's after me! And it was just the ducks. As they got closer to the creek, the ducks took off. He was like, I didn't look in his eyes, though. And I about died. I was like, Ronnie, the Mothman is not after you. He said, well, when she started running, I figured I better run. So that was hilarious.
That's fantastic. Yeah, one of the campaign ads that I put out is me talking about the Mothman. And
oh, wow.
All that is on Facebook. You'll definitely have to check it out. And all you viewers at home, definitely check that out too. I'm on Facebook.
I will. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. You married, kids, that kind of thing?
So,
what you do for a living?
I am married, and I have 2 kids. My son is 4, and my daughter is 6. And right now, I work 2 different jobs. Currently, I don't know. By me saying my employer's name, in no way am I giving an endorsement or anything, but I work for Cardinal Health, and we are a pharmacy that is close to the public, and we create, package, and distribute all radioactive drugs. And most of the time, my day starts around 2 or 2:30, and I end up wrapping it up about 1 o'clock. My second job, I have worked in the death industry since about the end of 2010, verge of 2011. I started out working doing transports for the medical examiner's office, and I did that up until about 2016. When I started out, there were several of us, but then as my time there kind of went on, we went down to 2 trucks, and so I did everything south of the state, and south of Charleston. And then the other gentleman I worked with, his name was Emmanuel. He did everything north of Charleston. And fun fact, he went on to open a Planet Fitness, and that left me there my last year or so. I was pretty much running the whole state, and that kept me pretty busy. And then after that, I started working for local funeral homes. I had worked for Memorial. I worked up at Roselawn. I worked for Bailey Kirk. Currently, I'm still employed at Bailey Kirk just as a funeral home attendant, and I do some transports. I have actually been accepted, and I will be the graduating class in 2028 of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. So, hey.
Oh, wow.
Nope, Tuesday doesn't work out. I got a backup plan.
Oh, gosh. So what is radioactive drugs? Is that like chemotherapy or?
So,
radiation?
We do Pluvictos, we'll do copper 64s, we'll do Illusics. One of the big things that we do are like the cardiac drugs. So we'll do like stress tests, resting stress tests. We'll do tests. We do white blood cells. We'll do what is that other one? Thyroids, lung scans, things like that. My portion of it that I work in the lab is just the packaging and the distribution part of it. There's a pharmacist that is there that actually creates and makes the drug. So I don't really know a whole lot about that part. It's kind of remedial when I kind of come to explain that. Like, one of the most interesting things, I think, is the white blood cell and how they will draw the blood from the patient, and then we will transport that blood back to the pharmacy, where they will spin that down and separate the white blood cells, and he will add radioactive isotopes to those white blood cells. And then we will transport it back to the hospital, where it's injected into the patient, and then the patient is scanned, and then they are able to track where those white blood cells go to determine where cancer might be or infection might be.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very interesting.
It is.
So technical about stuff.
Between the funeral home and the nuclear pharmacy, I might be the one to bring about the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, Lord. Can you tell us how to save ourselves?
I don't know that one.
So what made you want to run for Senate?
So my motivations for running for Senate, number one, I wasn't happy with what I was seeing in my state, in my country, and what was going on in the world. And, you know, whenever you see something that's wrong, you lace up your shoes and you go and you fix it, because that's what our democracy demands. Mm-hmm. Another big factor, you know, I have always had an interest in politics. In fact, that's one of the things that my mother and I have always bonded over, because national politics has been our football and Democrats are our team.
Oh, Lord.
And so, you know, I've always had a fancy for running for office like that. And the third one was the people that I had talked to, and they had always told me that, you know, I would be really good in the support system that I have. So to talk about that, I got to talk about the people that I have learned the most from that have never existed. And Luke Skywalker, one of them. And another one being Batman. Batman being my favorite superhero of all time. Because Batman, anybody can be Batman. Anyone can don the cowl and be Batman. And especially in the multiverse, there have been multiple versions of Batman. And when I worked at the Behavioral Health Pavilion, that was a nickname that I had earned. And it's just kind of stuck with me. But the support system that I have in Batman would be nothing without his support system. And so when I talk about my support system, I have to talk about my wife and how awesome that she has been and how supportive she has been through all of this, you know, and she definitely wants to see me succeed and to reach my full potential. Thank you. I love you.
I think she was the one that was like, hey, Josh would do good.
And then another one would definitely be Bob Gardner. Bob Gardner's support of me. And I refer to both of them as my Alfred. And I know that a lot of people would think that that's condescending, and, you know, they'd be like, oh, you think he's Alfred. But when you think about Batman and the support system that Batman had, and what made Batman successful was Lucius Fox, Alfred, you know, Barbara Gordon. These are people that helped Batman succeed. He couldn't do it on his own. And me as a candidate, I cannot do it on my own. Because whenever Batman got in trouble, who did he call? Alfred, come pick me up. So, you know, definitely that support system there. And of course, my immediate family and my wife's family and the support and the love from our friends and everything. You know, those were some big motivators for me to run. And going back, you know, when I talked about things that bothered me in our state, our country, and our world, I looked at my daughter and when Roe versus Wade was overturned, because that was the first time ever that the Supreme Court had taken rights away from a group of individuals, because typically they grant rights to people. And that night, I put my daughter to bed with fewer reproductive rights than what her mother or her grandmothers had. And I know that's a touchy subject, and I know a lot of people, you know, feel a particular way about it, but, you know, we've all heard the adage, you know, just because you don't take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. And so we have taken the rights away from one class of people. Okay, it didn't affect you this time, but next time it might be you. And so those are some of my big motivators to run.
understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You always have your why, as long as you've got your why in place.
Mm-hmm.
And usually children are the ones that give you the biggest why.
That's right.
So, with you working in healthcare, let's just go ahead and dive into a big subject.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So, we have a major healthcare crisis all across this country, but we have a lot of hospitals and stuff that are closing down across the state, limited access to healthcare. And we have, I know the certificate of need laws is something that comes up all the time during every session. And I believe they almost got the repeal passed through this time, but it didn't get all the way through. I think it passed one chamber, but not the other one. So let's start with that. Let's see how you think you could improve healthcare in this state, bring hospitals back. Because realistically, we're not going to bring in retirement communities or anything like that if we don't have access to healthcare, because that's a big thing for them. So I see our population leaving because so many people have to go out of state for healthcare. And are you in support? What do you think about the certificate of need laws and those type things? And let's get started with that.
Oh man, there's a whole lot I got to say.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the job that I have been interviewing for the last several months. Mm-hmm. And the interview process is still going on until Tuesday. So,
and it could be longer than that.
And it could be longer than that. Fingers crossed. Vote Josh Hamby. But when you think about what a state senator does, okay, what is the role of a state senator? A state senator can argue legislation, they can debate it. They could write and sponsor legislation. They could vote for it. They, approve the governor's budget, and then they vote on appointees. Okay, so a lot of politicians that I have heard in this circuit while I have been running, they make it sound like the buck stops with them. Okay, and when it comes to being a state senator, that's not necessarily the case. The job itself is compromise, and it's being able to reach across that aisle and to work with people. And that is one thing that I think that I am able to do. I think I'm definitely a people person, and I think that I can find compromise with people. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see my campaign's logo, but I have the red right wing and the blue left wing coming together, shaking hands, and it makes purple. I had several signs, but they have been disappearing at an exponential rate. I feel like maybe people
a lot of candidates have been saying that.
Yeah, so I think maybe people are just sticking them in their yard. I hope that's the case. But I think that I would definitely be that person, that middle of the roader, that would be able to do that and to make that compromise. To touch on again, they say that, the buck stops with me. This will happen, that will happen, I'll get rid of it tomorrow. Let's be real. I'm not running for president. Not yet, anyway. We'll see what happens Tuesday. But
is that going to be your... They do need a good Democrat candidate.
Hey. But I can't write an executive order and change the law tomorrow. What I can do is I can advocate. I can advocate for my district, and I can advocate for my people. I'm a nobody, okay? I came into this race. I am the son of a nurse and a security guard from out in Glenwood. And, I know what it's like not to have. I know what it's like to get those unexpected medical bills. I know what it's like to fight with insurance companies. And I know what it's like to ask yourself those tough questions. Do I buy the medication that I need this month, or do I buy groceries for the week? Mm-hmm. I work 2 jobs, childcare being one of my biggest expenses that, it's something that we all need to be able to work. And so I definitely want to advocate for those people, and especially the people in the southern coal fields. I mean, for them to go and turn on their faucet and acid mine drainage be the result of that, and straight piping sewage straight into the Tug River. These are people that I want to advocate for. I'm not a career politician. I didn't come from money. My daddy didn't own the bank, So to talk about that, these are things that I would advocate for. Now, when it comes to the topic of healthcare, there definitely needs to be some reform in healthcare. In my experience working at Princeton Hospital, I started out in behavioral health and I finished in behavioral health. And some of the biggest things that I had seen while I was there, especially there towards the end, is that they had switched to telehealth and telepsych. And that is not something that's necessarily beneficial. I think that was very difficult, because you get some of these people, when you come to a mental health hospital, you are in crisis, okay? You're not having a good day. Mm-hmm. Things are bad. And, you know, some of these people, they would be off of their medications, things like that. Well, when you go to telepsych or telehealth, you have a doctor in another state, or maybe even on the other end of the country, and they are in a different time zone.
My last eye exam was like that.
Oh, man.
I had somebody in California as the doctor.
And so that's so wild to me.
They asked me, was I opposed to that? And I was like, I guess not. An assistant would be in there guiding the stuff and telling the doctor how to do it, and they're looking at it virtually. And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fine.
All right. I mean, it's really hard to do a patient assessment when you never put your hands on the patient, you know? But some of these patients, you know, they would come in and they may be off their meds, they may be in crisis. And if they came in the middle of the night here in West Virginia, we would have to wait until they saw the doctor to get meds or anything started for them. Of course, you know, there's standing orders and things like that in place. But, you know, these people may have to wait until 5 o'clock the next afternoon before they actually see a provider. And I think that that's something that needs to be changed. I think that a lot of the, in my experience at the pavilion, the largest wing there was the geriatric unit. And what that turned into was like a swing bed facility to get people out into nursing homes. People would end up staying there for long periods of time. And why would they end up staying? Because the insurance kept paying. And, you know, they didn't necessarily need to be there. One of the other things that I had seen there too was like I mentioned, the people that go into it, they're in crisis. And they don't come with a lot of their basic needs. Sometimes they don't come with shoes. Sometimes they don't come with jackets or adequate clothing, things that they would need. So while I was there, I saw that need, and I created what I called the clothing closet. I was in a position to be able to do that, and several of the nurses helped me maintain it. And we would give patients clothing and things that they needed, especially whenever they were going to be discharged. And right now, that's a legacy that I've left. My understanding is that it's still there, and it's called Bridget's Boutique. Shout out to Bridget. But when it comes to mental health and it comes to physical health, prevention, okay? Prevention is a big deal. And so if we're able to catch some of this stuff early, especially mental health wise, you know, diet and exercise, not something that I necessarily follow, but that makes it hard when we talk about prevention too, because it is so expensive to be poor.
Very.
It's so expensive to be poor. And that's something that I know, like to go out to eat healthy and to buy the things that you need, or to even go into exercise with your job and your schedule with life, and to find time to do that and to find time to buy the things to eat healthy, it's so much cheaper to eat something processed or to go that route with it. And then, excuse me, to touch on that again, so, you know, the insurance companies then have their hands in it, and then they dictate what they will pay for and what they won't pay for, and what treatments you can get and what treatments that you cannot get. I think that should ultimately be up to your provider. Isn't that what we have doctors for?
Yeah.
You know?
That is.
And so, and I don't believe that insurance companies should be able to dictate who gets what care necessarily. And, you know, and if it doesn't pay something.
So do you have any ideas on, because Bluefield Regional closing down was a huge hit to this area.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, it was huge. And then it turned to housing for Bluefield State.
That's right.
And then WVU has purchased it, I guess. And I guess it gives the perception of how much did WVU know it was going to close down, how much did they even want to maintain it. And then, you know, they were able, once it closed down, they were able to buy it cheaply. So how do we eliminate that? Because Lord forbid, we don't need Welch Hospital closing down too. And, you know, smaller community hospitals, because these rural areas, it takes a while to get to the hospital if you need to.
Absolutely. And so to kind of continue on and to touch on that, I mean, you've got your interest rates the people would have to pay with insurance as opposed to paying for out of pocket. And once again, you know, that's something that keeps poor people poor, is having to pay on that. And so when it comes down to it, we are still paying for it not only in interest, but we're paying for it with our health. Because the ache and pain that you might have, or the back pain that you might have, or or the tooth pain that you might have, you let that go because you can't afford to pay out of pocket for it right now, or maybe you can't get to the provider to do that, and it ends up going on, and it causes more pain and more harm to you because you ended up letting that go. So I would think, to reform that, we need to put some caps and some guardrails on these insurance companies. I think that would definitely be one of the routes to go there.
Would you be unopposed to, for instance, if a doctor wanted to open up his own private practice, his or her own private practice, and practice on their own and charge maybe a monthly fee or something? I know some states have big issue with that because the hospitals have big issues with that, and the bigger facilities that have unlimited deep pockets. Would you be opposed to something like that? I mean, if they were covered under the same medical malpractice insurance, they were legally licensed in your state, would you have an opposition to that?
No, not at all.
Okay. So that gives you some health freedom then,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so when we're talking about this, we may as well just go ahead and segue into the health freedom stuff. So, I think you were telling me off air you were Catholic, is that right?
I'm not just Catholic, I'm Catholic.
You're Catholic? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So there has been a big push, and a lot of the advocates push for this. I know it's coming up next session because I know they're actively recruiting for the health freedom of vaccine mandates, and they are pushing they want a religious exemption because I think West Virginia is only like one of the 5 states that still does not have that. And Governor Morsi, he signed an executive order allowing the religious exemptions, and the State Board of Education fought that and is still fighting that, and that's held up in court. So that's the question I always get when I send out my emails to different groups, is they always go, does this candidate, would they be okay with backing a religious exemption? And I guess if it's standalone, because most of these bills, let's face it, get put through with a lot of riders and pork and all that stuff in it. So even though you might stand for something, they'll put something in there that you just can't stand with. So, but they'll spin it. That's just how politics works. What is your thoughts on allowing West Virginia to have a religious exemption?
So I want to start off by saying, like I said before, I'm not a career politician. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know.
Okay.
And one of the first signs of intelligence is admitting that you know nothing. Mm-hmm. And I believe that policy begins with conversation, like what you and I are doing right now.
Right.
And to answer your question, I am pro-vaccine all the way. I do not believe in the religious exemption. I understand that there are some things out there that may cause somebody not to be able to get it. But my grandmother, she suffered from polio. And she had to learn to walk all over again. And these are diseases that are out there that have crossed oceans of time to be with us here today. And do you remember that time you had polio? Mm-mm. See, that's right, because you got vaccinated. So, no, I do not support religious exemption.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. And this is how we also know, have conversation and we know anything that goes on. Okay, well, the next big thing we're going to tackle is the water.
That's something absolutely. So
our water systems in West Virginia are, in certain areas, horrendous, especially in the southern part of West Virginia. Mm-hmm. So first I want to find out what your thoughts are on it. Where is it? Where do you think this is coming from? How do we fix it? And my second part of the question is I'm a big communication freak. So I've told everybody that I believe we can at least start working on a resolution and give and take, because everything is give and take. There's going to be none of us are going to agree 100% on everything. And so if we're doing a little communicating and give and take, are you going to be a politician that will show up if you were elected? Because so many people are complaining that all these politicians are only showing up this water crisis because it's election year. And so they're like, as soon as the election's over with, they'll just drop us like they have been. So that's my 2-part question. How are you going to fix this? What are your ideas? And will you leave these people after the fact?
So let me give you my resume.
Okay.
So when I started out running for office, right after I filed my paperwork, I had COVID. So that was a minor setback. But after that, I have used my campaign. I have used my Facebook, and like I said earlier, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, and I have been learning, and I have been using this campaign as a way to educate people. Once again, the healthcare in me, education, and patient advocacy. I definitely want to bring attention to it, and I want people to learn about it as we go. As I learn about it, you're learning about it, and there have been a lot of people that have followed me since day one. Now, for me to say I have been involved in this water crisis since day one, that's not true, because that happened before I was born.
Right.
Okay. So, to start off with it, my ties to McDowell County. I go to the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Powhatan. I was the 5th generation to get married in that church. My wife's family, the Constantino, and my kids were the 4th generation to be baptized in that church. My daddy and my daddy's daddy are from Mayberry, and my roots run deep, and my wife's roots run deep in McDowell County. So this is something that the Southern Coalfields is something that I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for. So starting out February the 8th is when I actually hit the road and I crossed the district for the first time. It's Mercer, McDowell, Mingo, and Wayne. It took me roughly 14 hours, and I took Bob Gardner with me. So don't just take my word for it. I drugged him along for the ride. We started out, I had watched a video that a water activist had made. His name is Jake Fry, and he started out in Carswell Holler. So to use my campaign and the tools that I had available to me, I showed up there the next day in Carswell Holler in McDowell County. The water that was in Carswell Holler tested positive for 20 milligrams per liter of lead and cadmium. These are 2 deadly neurotoxins that you just don't boil out of the water. And I was the only politician or the only person running for this Senate seat to show up the next day to try to bring attention to this crisis right up in Carswell Holler. The water was crimson. I have a video on my Facebook all about it. That same day, I made it all the way out to Eastland in Wayne County, and that is where the AEP transformer leaked water into the oil supply, and I was there on the ground. And I know we talked about it earlier. February, it was really cold. Mm-hmm. It was really cold in February. Whenever I went, and I was out there, I was talking with the people out Wayne and meeting with them, and they had water buffaloes and stations in different places that were set up for people to be able to go and to wash their clothes, take a shower, and have access to water while they were cleaning up this oil spill into their water supply. And I came across one lady that she didn't have a car. And as you go out further into these western counties, I mean, it's here, the roads go between the mountains. Over there, the roads go across the mountains. And she didn't have a car. It was frigid temperature. And, she had to try to make her way. She had to walk to wash her clothes in frigid temperatures, take a shower, get water, and then be able to make it back to her house. And it was just a really terrible situation there in Wayne. And I used my campaign then to try to bring attention to it. I have been over in Mayberry, and I have talked to people who use this. I'm going to call it an unregulated water source. The spring that comes out of the side of the mountain there off the side of 52. Not only McDowell County, but Mercer County. These people have come to rely on it daily, weekly, and bi-weekly because they are paying for water that they cannot use. On top of that, there's sewer that I had mentioned earlier. A lot of places are straight piping sewer directly into the Tug River. And,
are they still doing that?
They're still doing that.
Because it's not supposed to be legal now. It's supposed to be grandfathered in. They're still doing that?
To my knowledge, yes.
And no one is...
So that's something that's still going on.
New construction? Or is it all old stuff?
Old stuff.
Okay.
And
not that it makes it any better,
right? Absolutely.
But unless there's, these are all underserved areas, and I'm not sure how you would fix that without some grants or something. And
then, whenever I had heard about the what happened in Dingus, 12-Pole, and Breeden a couple of months ago, due to failing infrastructure, these people found themselves without water overnight. And I made it a point. I took what I call the Batmobile. I had a spare tire. I had gone into work that morning at 2 a.m. and I had left work about 1 o'clock that afternoon. I drove all the way to Dingus from Princeton, and I transported over 100 gallons of water. And I met Johnny Hager during the snowstorm and delivered water directly to people's houses. Like I said, I have been there. I was with Brad Davis to support the Coalfield, to push and support the Coalfields Clean Water Act in Charleston. And this is something that, you know, I have definitely advocated for and I have pushed for. And, you know, I keep showing up. And that's one thing about me is I keep showing up. Definitely on my Facebook, you can see where I have traveled over 2,000 miles, all of the towns and places that I have been to. And like I said, policy begins with conversation. And I plan to continue to show up. And I want to advocate for people.
So where do you think all that's coming from? Is it all just abandoned coal mines that nobody knew was there? Or how do you get those neurotoxins in there without... There's got to be a source. Do you know, has anyone said where that is all coming from?
To my knowledge, at this moment in time, to my knowledge, I do not know. If I had to speculate, I would think absolutely it would be mine drainage.
And do you think there needs to be something that because, I mean, we need to get a handle on that. And
I'm absolutely.
Not sure, I mean, is there not, seems like there should be something the DEP should be able to do somewhere, or regulations where they can go and test for these things before it happens.
Well, I think that it's
what does that do to our fish and stuff too?
I mean, you ever see that Simpsons episode where the fish has 3 eyes?
Oh gosh.
So we live in 2026 in what I believe to be the greatest country on earth.
Yes.
And in our hands, we have the ability to abolish all forms of human poverty and suffering. And this is something that shouldn't exist. I think that it speaks volumes that we have water rights activists out there that are the ones testing the water. And there are no, to my knowledge, no agencies out there doing that. And then the two biggest entities that are stepping in to try to help people in this area are the Catholic Church and the United Methodist Church. Like I said, I tried to use my campaign to bring attention to this, and you know, we talked about me being Catholic, and then after the 60 Minutes episode came out, the bishop, Mark, he has since been replaced. He stepped down from the Archdiocese of Wheeling, Charleston. He made it a point that he is sending 600 cases of water every month to McDowell County. And I was actually asked by the president of the guild to be the legs and to distribute that water throughout McDowell County, but I had decided that it would be best for me to step back and allow the Catholic Church to do that, because I'm not wanting to use this for just political gain, because this is something that everyone needs to be outraged about and something that definitely needs attention brought to it and needs to be fixed.
Absolutely. I mean, water is the foundation of everything. I don't feel like we can grow tourism. I don't feel like we can grow anything, economic development. I don't think we can do anything without clean water. I mean,
you said it yourself. The Constitution says we have right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Water is life.
Right.
You know, Palm Sunday just came around and we all were singing, "Water is life." On top of that, how can we bring tourism to this area? What is going to draw people to this area? Like if you opened an Airbnb and I went and I stayed there during the night and I'm like, well, you know, everything was great except for whenever I used the water, it burned my skin.
I mean,
you know, or I had water I couldn't use. So, I mean, infrastructure is definitely one of the biggest things down there. Absolutely.
So, if you win, who would you go to? Would the DEP be your first stop for this?
Let me tell you, you know, I talked about the Coalfields Clean Water Act, and I got to give a shout out to David Green. I actually met David in Welch. I think that he's a really good guy, and pushed for this Coalfields Clean Water Act, which was originally asking for $250 million to rebuild the infrastructure there in McDowell County and to clean all of that up. So that would be one of the things that I would definitely advocate for and push for.
And how do you overcome, in talking to the reps and the senators for the northern part who also have issues of their own and they want some of this money too?
Well, like I said, everything is compromised. And I think that what's going on right now in the southern coal fields is it's an abomination and it's a crisis. And I really don't feel like that this is something that should even be a question. Why aren't we wanting to help these people? Why aren't we, why didn't the Coal Fields Clean Water Act get passed? Why are these things happening? I don't really feel like that this is a subject that should be up for debate,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
because we have our neighbors just up the road here who don't have access to basics.
I just wonder how much it spreads. Because they just say, it seems like all these streams just flow all in together.
That's right.
It seems like there's got to be trace amounts that's making it into other counties, even more heavily populated areas.
Well, absolutely. And just like my campaign slogan says, we're all in this together. This affects everybody.
Right. And
so
everybody says, oh, well, it just stops here. Or, it's not that. I don't know that there's an actual wall where the water doesn't know county lines. So
we stop here.
And so you have to is anybody testing it in any other areas to see if there's trace amounts coming through, like Mercer County, for instance?
I know that there are other water rights advocates that have been testing this water. I haven't followed them as closely as I have followed Jake Fry. But I do know that there are other people out there, and they are testing it, even over in Wyoming County, and they're bringing attention to it. So,
yeah, it needs all the attention they can get. Mm-hmm. The national attention can get to it. That might get some more stuff
absolutely
done. I'm a big advocate of more people brings more attention, and they get something done.
That's right.
So, well, since we're talking about water, let's get into data centers a little bit because they use they use a lot of water.
They do.
And we have a group of people, and it's a big majority of people, a lot of people who know data centers. They don't want them. And I like a data centers too, like a landfill. No one wants the landfill in their backyard. No one wants the data center. Both of them, though, are needed. And so how do we overcome that? Are you pro data center? How do you make sure that they're not depleting all of our resources that we need as far as water and stuff goes? And let's talk about data centers.
Let's talk about data centers. So my thoughts on data centers, just like you said, nobody wants the landfill in their backyard, but it's a necessary evil. Yes. We all like streaming Netflix. We all like watching YouTube. We all use these programs, and it's
even healthcare and stuff.
Even
now
healthcare.
Yeah.
So it's something that is going to pop up. It's something that we need, just like taxes, a necessary evil. So, will the benefit outweigh the risk of that? Are they going to come in and just use our resources and leave West Virginians holding the bag? Are we not going to benefit from it? Is it really any different than what the coal industry did to us? So to answer your question, I understand the need for them. I know that we need to have them pop up, but I would be against one.
And so, I know it wasn't passed that they bring in data centers. They're really big into data centers now. That was a big thing in the legislature. Mm-hmm. Do you think West Virginia shouldn't have any at all?
Well, when we talk about the crisis here in the southern coal fields and poverty, can we afford it? Are they going to come in here and use our resources and leave us high and dry? Mm-hmm. That's something that I think that we need to consider, and I don't think that,
Isn't there one slated for Wyoming County or something already?
I believe so, and I don't think that West Virginians could really foot the bill for that. So, yeah, I am against AI data centers moving here, although I do understand the need for them. Because we all use them.
We need to just put them in space, like Elon says.
Let's just launch them into space. I've seen every episode of Star Trek. We can do this.
Well, that might be the best way to do it. So getting into that, let's talk about business a little bit.
Okay.
How would you propose getting more businesses into your district so that we can create jobs? Because let's face it, West Virginia, we lost a congressional seat. It used to be 3 representatives for the House of Representatives. Our population was one of only a couple states that actually lost a rep because the population was declining so much. We've got to do something to bring in businesses, jobs, more people somewhere. I saw a man on one of the news stations saying he was just waiting for the last person to leave West Virginia and turn the lights out. That's not what we want to be known for. It's a beautiful state with great people, with a lot of resources. So we need to start figuring out how to use that and get people back. The younger generation especially needs to, really get involved here. So how would you propose getting businesses in?
So I feel like we already kind of covered this when I talked about the water and we talked about Airbnbs and things like that. First and foremost, we have to make it more attractive. We need to fix this infrastructure in southern West Virginia. We need to bring clean water, things like that back to here. I think, too, we could focus on our assets. And that's one of the things, I did a video in Matewan talking about Matewan and how Matewan became a tourist destination because of Hatfield and McCoy and because of the mine wars. And, it started out, they had the train depot. And then from the train depot, they had the Mine Wars Museum pop up. And then once the Mine Wars Museum popped up, other small businesses started popping up. And then because of the Hatfield and McCoy show on, I think it was the History Channel. Is that right?
I think so.
You had people from Europe coming to see where Devil Anse Hatfield was from. It suddenly, Matewan became a tourist destination. So I think, when you look at all of these communities, as you go through the southern coal fields, they all have their own story. They all have their history and their heritage. And I think that we can focus on that and create more tourist hotspots, places that people would actually want to come to. And one of the big things to do that is to fix what's broken,
Which is going to take a ton of money, and it's very, very necessary.
Absolutely.
So where would you think the money would come from?
I don't know. That is a question that
without putting it on the backs of the people who are already here struggling.
Very true. Very true. I don't have an answer for that one. Like I had said earlier, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I've never, run for office before or anything like that. But, like I said, policy begins with conversation. And so that's something that I can definitely look into. And I'll get back with you on that, when I come up with an idea.
I love it when people say they just don't know, because I'd rather be told the truth than to be
right.
spun all kinds of stuff that makes no sense. So I think that's the number one question with a lot of things that needs to be fixed is, where's the money come from? Because it's a catch-22. You got people leaving, so you've got less resources that are coming into here from the federal government and things like that.
Right.
And it's just, and we have a very aging population here. So it's not the easiest thing.
No.
Taxes. Don't you love talking about taxes?
Another necessary evil.
Because don't we all love paying taxes? Let's start talking about some property tax and some... That has been a topic that everyone has been all over, because the property taxes, especially here in Mercer County, have went through the roof all of a sudden. What last year was... Like, for instance, we did have a trailer property. We sold it, but 2 years ago, my property taxes on it was $35. Not a big deal. Last year it was $70. It doubled. There was nothing else put there. And so, the property taxes are going up, and I guess my only problem with that is that it doesn't seem like there's any more development. Like, we're not getting anything new in return. The infrastructure's not improving, which it seems like that could be helping. What do we need to do about that? Is that, I know it's a necessary evil that we've got to have, but we're told, I know county commissioners are the ones that set that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit out of the Senate, but then they deflect back to the state, because then there were the open discussion about taxes on a Facebook Live recently was, the state made us raise the rates. So you're okay. So what state entity makes them raise the rates, and how does that work? I don't know. I've asked for clarification on that and have not gotten it. But
right,
where do we go?
So I think The cutting taxes is only going to exacerbate the issue because property taxes pay for things that we need, like schools, roads, etc., like that. And a lot of people are paid through taxes. So I think that we need to make sure that those taxes go to the right thing. And, these large landholding companies that come in here and they own 500 plus acres, I think that they need to be taxed. I think that they need to be held accountable too. So my thoughts on the property tax and all that, cutting taxes, that seems like the way to go, but I think that that's only going to exacerbate the problem.
Would you ever entertain cutting the property tax and maybe raising like sales tax or something to compensate? That
would be an avenue that I would be willing to explore.
Because I'm almost of the mind of I posted this on Facebook. I feel like it should be illegal for a family to own a home, to have worked all their life for it, have a couple of rough years or even one rough year, and lose your home to $1,000 or less.
Right.
Something that you built your entire life on.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if that can happen, and it does happen, do you ever truly own anything in America?
That's a good question.
And so I just feel like, Tennessee makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think looking at some neighboring states and some ideas, they make it work. And they have people coming into Tennessee all the time. They have huge tourism and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if one state can make it work, we could probably help our people. And that would be a huge selling point to get people to move here.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Delaware and them with their no tax on corporations. There's so many corporations registered in Delaware. Florida even picked up on it. And now Florida has a huge amount of corporations. Anything that would lure in people because that would in turn give more money if you've got more people paying and more people using things. And so is that something you would entertain looking at, is to get rid of property tax to offset it another way?
Personal property tax?
No, your house property tax.
House property tax?
Yes.
I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it's a necessary evil. It's something that we definitely need. People are, our schools, people are getting paid through that. We do a lot of different things with it. That is something that I would have to explore and research more on before I could actually give you a definite on it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some education then, since we were talking about taxes, and a lot of those taxes go to the education system. A lot.
That's right.
And then we end up voting on an excess levy most of the time too. So then that's even more money in taxes that go to education. The Hope Scholarship and all that stuff has been a huge thing that people have been talking about recently. So I would like to find out what your stance is on education, the situation, education in general in West Virginia. Is it on the right path, or do we need to change some things? And about the Hope Scholarship, what your understanding of it is, and how, if it's good.
So my thoughts are this. Number one, I support public education. I support our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
The Hope Scholarship has its place in the world, but it definitely needs some caps and some guardrails put on it, because right now what's happening is they are going through the back door and defunding our public schools, which, in Mercer County, really not that. It affects Mercer County. But when you look at Mingo County, for example, and with the consolidation of school districts, and you've got these schools that are closing down, and then you've got the potential for students to get on a school bus and ride 90 minutes one way to get to school. So I'm not really seeing the hope in the Hope Scholarship, unless you're just hoping the wheels don't fall off the bus.
Mm-hmm. The Hope Scholarship is mainly for homeschool stuff, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that money follows that student, and not all of that money stays in this state either. So I think that we definitely need to fund public education. I think that we need to support our teachers and give our students everything that they need to succeed, and to give the teachers all the tools necessary to do their job at the highest level possible. And I'm against the consolidation of school districts, schools closing down as a result of this. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the Hope Scholarship has its place in the world. It just needs to be reined in. So I'm not for getting rid of it completely.
Are you opposed to homeschooling?
So No, I'm not opposed to homeschooling. No.
Because I think a lot of people think that if you want to get rid of the Hope Scholarship, then you must be anti-homeschool. And I don't think that would necessarily be the case.
Well, I don't want to get rid of it.
Right.
I just want to rein it in.
Yeah. And a lot of people would argue that would essentially hurt homeschooling because that is for homeschoolers. And when we come back down to economic status, some people can't afford to do homeschooling, so they depend on that.
Yeah.
There's always a flip side. We know that. So are you okay with homeschooling if parents can pay for it themselves, or if they are? I don't know how to address. I didn't even realize Hope Scholarship was per child. So for unlimited amount of kids, pretty much. I didn't know that. So how do we rein that in and still be in support of children being homeschooled?
So, like I said, income caps need to be put on it. That's one of the ways that we could rein it in.
Right.
Because you've got, okay.
So a billionaire can get it?
That's what I was about to say. So you got Elon Musk.
I didn't know that.
If he wanted to, he could utilize this program and send his kids to a private school.
Oh, wow.
And he has the money to do that. So I think income caps do need to be put on it. And that's one of the ways that I think that we could rein it in and to help save our public schools.
I didn't know that either. I mean, it just seems like that would be a thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's like giving a millionaire Medicaid or something.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have the same opportunities, but I mean, they've got money to do that.
Right.
Probably better than what the Hope Scholarship would even pay for. So let's see here. So I have to get AEP. Yes, fun. So now a topic that affects all of us. It knows no party lines. It's about like the water. It doesn't know when the county line ends and begins. Is wonderful AEP, the company that we love to hate because we love their service, but we don't like their billing. I think you were telling me a little bit about you went to an event where they were speaking about AEP. I don't know if any AEP reps were actually there or not. Have you learned anything about why these bills are soaring like crazy for the same services? People want to blame it on the smart meters. They want to blame it on lack of business here.
Thank you.
I've even had an AEP rep to tell me that it was because they never can regulate.
Thank you so much.
How much they have to spend on the resources at market, like coal and natural gas and stuff. And so they can go up on the rates without even consulting on the Public Service Commission on that because they pass that on to the customer. What is the problem? Is there any, because you also can't, I know it's a regulatory business, but we can't be business friendly and then regulate them to death, but we have to make sure it's fair too, because so many people can't afford these bills. People that are older on fixed incomes, disabled people, they can't afford, some of these power bills are more than what they get every month.
Absolutely.
So what do we do?
I totally agree. So for me, I think that what we need to do is invest in a cheaper, more renewable resource because, a lot of the prices are based off of the highest fuel cost. So one of the things that I think we need to do is go to solar. I think that we need to look at using wind energy, things like that. I think it was Obama that had offered a tax credit to people that were able to do some of these updates to their homes to make them more energy efficient. I think that that's another avenue that we could definitely pursue.
That'd be a huge thing. Yeah, because West Virginia also has very old ancient homes, which is wonderful. They're built great.
That's why they're still here.
Yeah. They're built amazing. You cannot build houses like this anymore. They do not build them like this anymore.
But too, that leads to what I had talked about earlier in regards to poverty, because you have these people that are paying these astronomical bills, but they don't have the means or the money to do these updates to put new windows in, to put a new roof in, to put a new HVAC system in, things like that. But yeah, that's a tough one.
It's extremely tough. I know I tell this to every single person, but it just blows my mind. This house last year in those sub-zero temperatures was about $250, $270 in January. Wow. This year, oh my God, it was between $800-900 every month for 3 months.
Wow.
Same house, same setup. What happened? No one can say why this is happening when it's the same setup. There's people that we've talked to. One person has a barn, has the breaker flipped off, and it was still over $200. How do you get that?
How does that happen?
Yeah, how does that? I mean,
ghosts.
I mean, what in the world? I mean, so, and the Public Service Commission says, well, there's nothing we can do because it's in state code, and so I mean, and then then you hear the advocate saying, well, the Public Service Commission is the one that regulates all this, and it's all their fault, the board and stuff of the Public Service Commission, and so you just get tossed around just constantly, and this literally affects every single person. It doesn't matter whether you're red, white, blue, whatever color you are. I can't live without power.
Purple.
So I'm going to figure out a way to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, but then that in turn starts hurting businesses because your extra spending money you have is gone.
Yeah.
Because you've now got to put that on AEP and adulting, which sucks.
Ain't that the truth?
I mean,
Adulting's hard, man.
Yeah, you think, just like us, I was like, oh, I'm actually getting to where I can breathe a little. As soon the day that I said that,
that's when it happens.
Our sublimation printer went out.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, here we go. I gotta buy another printer. There was that concept of I might be able to save a little money now. Adulting just sucks.
That's one of the things that my wife and I have said ever since we got married. When things settle down, and now it's gotten to, if we could just make it through this week. If we could just make it through this week. I get it.
When you're going, oh my God, my bills are more than what I make this week.
We can just make it through this week. We'll be all right.
And you're calling the company going, hey, what can I get? You got a payment arrangement you can put me on?
Right?
Doing something.
And like I had said, everything kind of ties back into the poverty level that's here. And, it's like you said, adulting's hard and life's hard right now. And I don't have all of the answers, like I said, but what I can do is I can advocate for people, and that's what I want to do. And I feel like that I would make a really good senator. I feel like because I am just a normal person, I am not a politician, I am not bought by anybody. Like I said, I've traveled over 2,000 miles across this district, most of it on a spare tire, on a shoestring budget of $1,000. All of the donations and things I have received have been from people. Right. People who believe in me and they have invested in me. I didn't get any special endorsements. My daddy is not a wealthy man, But I think because, I have lived the life that I have lived and all of the experiences that I have had, I think that would make me an excellent advocate, and I think that it would make me an excellent senator. And I think going across this district and meeting as many people as possible and, shaking hands. And like I said, once again, policy begins with conversation. And to meet these people, and the struggle is only going to make me a better senator. And I definitely want to be there for those people. When I first started, one of the first meetings I went to was in Mingo County. And the question was asked, what type of politician are you going to be? The next time it floods in McDowell County, or the next time it floods in Mingo County, where are you going to be? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? Well, I want to be there shoulder to shoulder with my constituents. I want to be there, and I continue to show up. And I would like to think that I have earned the trust of the people of the Southern Coalfields, and I have proven myself to them. I didn't wait until the week before the election to start showing up. I have been there, and my track record shows that. And I have already started to advocate for clean water to support our public schools. And I think a lot of people have seen what I have been capable of on this short budget. No money, with a truck riding a spare tire across the district. Imagine what I will be able to do if I get elected to be your senator.
Right.
So I'm willing to put in the work.
Well, I do have another big topic for you that I forgot we haven't touched on.
Oh, man.
I know it's going to come up again because it just did not do well. Is CPS reform.
Okay.
I know that's been in gridlock. There's been listening sessions all over the state about the disproportionate amount of foster children that are in this state versus other states. I mean, West Virginia is leading in the nation for that. I don't think anything to do with children is anything that anybody wants to be leading in the nation on. And of course, we've had Rayleigh's Law and some versions of Rayleigh's Law that have come through, and they don't get through. They don't get passed. What did get passed this year got vetoed by Governor Morrissey. So we're once again back to square one, pretty much. The leadership keeps changing at the cabinet level. It's such a big problem at this point. I think it's just been ignored and just had stuff thrown at it so long that it's just out of control. And so that's a huge problem. You got to rein in, and I can almost guarantee you it is going to be up next session. So have you given a lot of thought? Are you versed in this? What do you see as the major issues? Like if you go in day one, and on day one they said, okay, you get to pick one thing you want to put into a bill for CPS reform, what would it be? Go.
Oh, it'd be more money. Absolutely.
More money.
These people need to get paid more.
Oh, Lord.
I think that people in CPS absolutely need to get paid more. I think that they are underpaid. And I think that, the lower pay, it makes it more difficult for them. And in regards to Rayleigh's Law, I absolutely support that. And I think that it's a shame that it was allowed to sit and it didn't make it through this legislative session. I think that is...
It did. I think what hurt it was they attached the homeschool into it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you can cross things when you're trying to talk about child welfare to then try to slide education in with it. Mm-hmm. It's probably not. That's probably like we're talking about pork and riders and things like that. That'll end up killing some really good bills that need to be done.
Right.
And when people try to slam that stuff through and just get it done. One of the things that a lot of people are not made aware of is in 2020, which during all the COVID stuff, I don't think people were really paying attention. And so I wanted to ask what your opinion is on this. They lowered the standards for social workers in CPS. You do not have to be a social worker, and you do not have to have any background in social work whatsoever to be a CPS worker. So they're not held accountable to any board or anything. The social worker board does keep track of who is working there, and they are listed as registry workers. So you can have a bachelor's degree in anything. You can, as long as you have a bachelor's degree, you can get the job. So you can be a fine arts major or an art
underwater basket weaving.
Yes, you could. Is lowering the standards for anything in this state the way to fix it?
No, why would we do that?
I mean, you're wanting to pay more money, and that's great. I really do truly think these people need a pay raise.
Yeah.
But also some training and education in that line of work.
Absolutely.
It seems like that would be a logical step. I had spoke to the director of the social work board about this. Mm-hmm. And she used to be a supervisor in Kanawha County at CPS, at the HHR, at that point when it was CHHR, and for years. Mm-hmm. She said people wanted to talk to her about it. She said that that was swung very much in the opposite direction. She was like, it was kind of a, what? Mm-hmm. I mean, so the way we saw, because they had an extreme shortage of social workers, that was the problem. And once again, you're not having people come into this state, more people are leaving than coming in. And so the chicken or the egg come first? You don't know. And so how do you fix one problem when you've got another problem that's there? Which one do you fix first? So there was an extreme shortage. And so they were trying to work out solutions. And the way they solved it was they just lowered the standards.
Wow. No,
And so,
I'm against lowering the standards of anything.
oh, that's happening across the state. I mean, it's happening in I don't know if it's happening just in this state, but this happened across the nation in different things. Healthcare. I mean, if you've got them over half of a nursing class that's failed, they'll lower the standards to get them pushed through. And when I found out that, when I was told that, I said, "What?" I mean, and I think that's a lot of people are participation trophies. You get the people that talk about, oh, we need to just make a child or whatever feel like they're special, so we give them participation trophies, or people in general. And so, I mean, yes, make any child feel like they are important, absolutely. But at some point in time, we've got to learn that if you don't master it, you can't move forward. You have to master it. We can't just continue lowering the bar, because then that affects healthcare, that affects our children, it affects us as we get older. I mean, who wants to do that? And so I that was a mouth-dropping moment for me. I had seen the ads on DHS's Facebook page. I mean, but it didn't click when it said you just have to have, it's a bachelor's degree and a driver's license. Those are the requirements to be a CPS worker. And it wasn't clicking with me that was it. I was reading the comments and I didn't even think, I need to call them and find out. Seriously? But that's it. Wow. And so, are you in favor of at least trying to raise that standard again?
Oh, absolutely. We need to raise the standard. We don't need to lower any standard.
I mean, because I feel like that could probably be part of the problem.
Absolutely.
Because we have resources and services here in this state that can help people. And if a social worker is actually trained in school and through their education to learn how to assist people in moving forward, not other people wouldn't know that. I went to school for communications. I don't know about all these grants and stuff. I mean, I'm not told on that. I could go out there and find it out. But if you're going to school for that, I mean, that's like saying a cop wouldn't have to go to any. I mean, can you imagine?
The requirements are a driver's license.
Or a judge, never have stepped in law school. I mean, I just feel like that is a huge problem. And I just would you be willing to at least start with that? Say, I really think we gotta, but then you have pushback that, well, we don't have enough people. We don't have enough social workers in the state. But I have seen a lot of the social workers on these posts. They're saying that it's making their profession look bad because it's tied to the social worker board, even though the board has no oversight. It's tied to it, so it makes their job look wherever they're a social worker at, or even if they work at DHS. I mean, because you do have some that are licensed social workers. And I just don't know how you fix that without losing your workforce. I mean, it's such a bad. That's what I'm saying. So your day one, you'd say pay more. So then what's day two?
Well, see, I would say pay more because I feel like we have. It's fallen through the cracks. I was unaware that there was that lowered bar. So. To make the position more attractive, to get more people, I would think to definitely do that. But also, like I said earlier, is I'm totally against lowering the bar there at all. That doesn't make sense to me why anyone would do that. So,
well, there's also a lot of wasteful spending in a lot of government that could be spent on other things. There was also an investigative report that came out. And DHS actually responded to that. TJ Meadows with West Virginia Metro News did a commentary on it. Amelia Nicely, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She had done an investigative report about the wasteful spending with this new intake system that had been allocated over $500,000 for. They spent like a down payment, I guess, of $250,000 and never utilized it one day, never even tried it.
Wow.
And so she found that out through FOIAs and all that stuff. And when she released that and TJ Meadows did the commentary, DHS actually made a big post, this was just a couple weeks ago, on Facebook about, yes, they did it, but the commentary was wrong. They just needed to go in a different direction, not this direction they were going in. But you wasted $250,000. That could help some water situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, and so, as a politician, because you would be if you got elected, how do you start reining in some of that wasteful spending like that? Do you start holding some people accountable? Do you go to the governor and go, hey, you need to start working on these people? Because ultimately the governor is the one that appoints these cabinet secretaries. And
so that goes back to where we started.
Right.
Absolutely, I think that there needs to be accountability, and that it would be something that would fall within my scope of practice as a senator.
Right.
The governor's budget, and also the appointment of his cabinet, voting on the appointment of his cabinet. So, to rein in wasteful spending, things like that, that's a good place to start.
Now, do you do that every term, or is it every term that you confirm the
governor's budget?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's yearly, but I'm talking about the cabinet secretaries and stuff. Are they confirmed every term, or do they keep going on like with a different governor? The governor decides that, right?
I don't know that.
Okay. I'm not aware of that either, so I need to clarify that myself. But you would be for some form of CPS reform.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's failing it's failing a lot, right? According to the federal government audit. Are you familiar with that came out? The federal government audit?
I am not.
You didn't see that in November? It was a big old story. The federal government, because of a child that had passed away, that made the news when they passed away in foster care, the federal government and the Inspector General did an audit. They just randomly picked 100 cases. 93% of them were done wrong. And did not even qualify for the funding because of the steps that were not taken. So they give the governor lots of deadlines to meet this, to keep their funding. So that's pretty bad when you just randomly take 100 cases and 93 of them done wrong. I mean,
that don't look good.
And that's West Virginia and the national news. That was everywhere. So I'm glad that you think there needs to be some form of reform, because if it ain't working, then you gotta fix it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's gotta be fixed. And we don't want people falling through the cracks either. So,
especially the most vulnerable population we have.
Absolutely.
Because they can't speak. So well, is there anything else that you want to go over? Tell us that we didn't touch on?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I've had a good time.
I have too. You're my first after dark candidate.
After hours.
So you have a huge opportunity, though, with this closed primary. You can pitch to the independents because they can't vote in the Republican primary this time. So we all have to either take just a ballot with judges, which judges are super important. And, that's a great thing to vote on, but it's kind of boring just to pick judges. So I'm going to take a Democrat ballot because I'm an independent and I want to affect it. So pitch to the independents why they should come over to Democrat and vote for you this time.
Oh, absolutely. And I did a video on this not long ago for those of you that follow me on Facebook. In an interview with Metro News, Rob Cornelius, an operative with the Republican Party, he is a cog in the machine. He is someone who helped make this decision. Okay? He's not an affiliate. He said in an interview with Metro News that independent voters are confetti. They blow with the wind. They don't turn out. They don't show up. And they're not welcome in a Republican primary. As an independent, I would be furious. So, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to prove him right? Are you going to stay home?
Oh, no, I'm
because
voting.
This election is more important than voting. Judges and school board are important, but this is an election that is going to affect our entire state and our community. And people need to turn out and they need to vote. So, with that being said, I'm Josh Hamby. I'm running for State Senate in District 6, and I would appreciate your vote May the 12th. Help me to advance to the next round.
Yeah, because that's a huge opportunity. Because when we go in there, we're going to be able to be given the opportunity for just nonpartisan ballot or Democrat.
Well, I think, too, that's something that you need to remember in November. They didn't want your vote in the primary.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
remember in November.
I mean, my personal opinion, I think it's a little bit of a form of voter suppression, but that's just my opinion. I think more people should be involved in the election process, not less.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
and that's my 2 cents in my opinion piece.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. All right, Joshua, I guess we are done with this interview, and I appreciate you so much for coming in. Hopefully you'll be coming in a political capacity again in the fall. But good luck to you on Tuesday. Everybody, this is Josh Hamby running for West Virginia Senate District 6. And he will be on the ballot Tuesday, May 12th. And he will be, your opponent is Wyatt Lilly, correct?
That's right.
Yes. So it'll be between them two guys for the Democrat ticket. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.